Engineer Kenneth Atta, who is the Deputy Chief Executive in charge of services. We also have with us Mr. Clement Boache, Director, Corporate Strategy, Engineer Nana Yao Ananebenfu, Manager, Office of the Chief Executive, and also with us is Tandy Chotia, Manager, Corporate Communications and Branding, all from VRE. On that note, I will invite the Deputy Chief Executive in charge of Engineering and Operations, Engineer Edward Obin Kenzo, for his remarks.
Good afternoon, Honorable Minister. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon to our friends from the media. VRA, as we know, we've been saying over the period of time, with the situation that we find ourselves in, we would like to assure the whole nation that, and those affected, that we'll be working with government to ensure that nobody is left unattended. We'll be with the communities affected throughout these trying times. Make sure that the comfort and relief that they need to have, they receive them. We will also ensure that as the situation unfolds, we work with government to bring the comfort and relief to the people affected. We, as VRA, and the agencies that we are working with, and government, would like also to assure all that, as projected, we'll be seeing an end to this situation that we have in the nearest possible time. Notwithstanding, I would like to go through some of the things that we're doing at the various communities, as being rolled on the screen that we see. These are some of the relief items that we've been sending to the communities. Since day one, when we started this spilling, we've been with the communities, we've been within the communities, all those affected from Suajaman all the way to the south, Adan, South Ton, and Central Ton, North Ton, Adan East, and what have you. We've been with them, and the relief items are still being supplied. We've given water. We've made sure there's enough water being supplied to these communities. As we speak today, Aveime water pump station, which was submerging water, at least we provided new pumping station to pump water to ensure water is restored to the community of Aveime. If you go to Mepe, the Kizito, St. Kizito School, also set up a new purifying system. That is a borehole system, the purifying filtration system to give the community filtered water to drink. As at Sunday, working with ECG, we've restored electricity to the St. Kizito School, and another three affected, 3 safe havens in the Mepe community. Today, because transportation across the Mepe area is a bit difficult, we constructed a new road from Mepe to Bator to allow access to Mepe. That road is about 5 kilometers. That one is also done. Our hospital department, in conjunction with the Ghana Health Services in the various districts, we supplied almost 1.5 million Ghana cedis worth of drugs to the communities. We have our environmental department who are also in the communities working with the people affected. As said, we will continue to make sure we bring this relief to the doorsteps of all those affected, those in the safe havens and those staying with the friends and relatives. Our hospital team is also in the community helping with the health concerns and trying to bring relief to those people affected in this situation that we find ourselves. Water tanks has also been supplied to the communities. Big water tanks have been supplied to the communities, which we are allowing, we are bringing water from the neighboring communities to fill these tanks so that they'll get enough water. Sachet waters are also being supplied for people to drink. We've also, with the help of Ministry of Energy, we've brought in about 5,000 solar lamps, which are given to the communities, and then the safe havens, where there are not enough light in the evenings, at least for them to use in the evening as a form of light. We'll continue, as I said, to make sure the relief items goes to these affected people in the various communities. We will stay in there throughout the period and make sure the relief comes. As you know, they've been displaced also where to take care of themselves. That's restrooms. We provided portable toilet. So counting almost 40 pieces that have been supplied, give it to the various communities. We've contracted Zoom Lion to make sure that they take care of these portable loos. That is, they manage the evacuation of the waste, make sure it's clean for the people to use. We'll continue in this regard, make sure that the communities receive all that is needed. Food is also being given to the communities. All ingredients needed to cook is given to the communities who they form themselves into groups to make sure they cook and take care of themselves. Last Tuesday, we also went through the community to find out what additional things that they really need, which we're also compelling to send more of mosquito nets and what have you. Those ones also started going as I speak today. Some of our directors who are working on the ground are making sure these items go to the various communities. We'll continue to do this and make sure that the relief that the communities need, they get it, and make sure also they return back to their normal life, restore their livelihood that they've suffered as of today, and work with government and ensure that whatever restoration needs to be done will be done accordingly. I would like to thank you all for being here and appreciate your presence. Thank you.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, so these are the humanitarian efforts that have been done by the Volta River Authority that the Deputy Chief Executive has taken us through. Please, if you have any questions relating to these efforts, you have some insight in some other places relating to humanitarian efforts, we will crave your indulgence to ask those questions. And if the team has any clarification or further information, they will provide. But I'll plead with you that because we don't have the full complement of the team here in their own ground, we will go back there for subsequent briefings and also come here back and forth until such a time that the situation is completely resolved. So let us not drown today's Q&A session with other questions that are not related to the briefing. When that happens, it gets a bit confusing. Most importantly, because maybe the person who is properly authorized to speak to the issues or has the information is not here. So please, if we can keep the questions to the humanitarian efforts, the Deputy CEO and team will be here to assist us with responses. Nana, yes, please. Your name and affiliation for the benefit of our guests.
Nana Poku, the Research Light Newspaper. Mr. Deputy CEO, the items, do you have a coordinated unit, body or agency that collects all these items into a particular place and sort of distribute to the affected communities? I'm asking this question because a lot of individuals, NGOs, government agencies, and all other people are donating. Do you have a central collection point where these items can be properly distributed? And yesterday, I listened to an MP from one of the affected areas, and he was saying that the VRA was not too anticipatory enough by saying, because when you realize that...
Nana, sorry to cut you, please. Let me remind you that the questions are supposed to be based on the relief and humanitarian efforts. If it goes out of that range, maybe the person who is supposed to answer the question may not be here. So I'm pleading with you. Because we will do this as often as possible, let us stick to today's briefing. Okay, so I dropped that question. And the release of the water, is it going to be done on maybe regular basis so that we may not have the difficulty we are having on our hands where at one time release will bring us some kind of disaster, so that we plan it according to a situation where we can maybe by piecemeal basis release the water when we get a signal that something is going to happen in the future. Thank you. Thank you for the questions. Yeah, Anna. Okay, ladies first. Let me take it. Yes. Okay, so I'll take the two of you and then.
Thank you. I don't know if this will be in the restricted, but I stand to be corrected. My name is Esther. I'm with Metro TV. Concerning the spillage, related to his second question, is there a way? There are donations coming in and all, but I'm looking at the future. Is there a way? Has VRA thought of a way to go about this in the near future with respect to not causing this disaster again? Because we know even in Accra, Weja Dam has been spilling, and of course some homes. So I'm speaking to VRA directly. Is there a way? Is there an avenue or a better way to do this in the near future? Is that something that they've considered so that we don't experience this again? Yeah.
Right, good morning. I'm Judith Brown from TV3. I have quite a number of questions. And so my first question is with regards... It's related so that to this.
Your colleagues will also get the opportunity. But if we can do another round, of course, I'll give you the opportunity.
Right. Now, we know that a number of people have been displaced, of course, over 12,000 people, if you want to combine most of the communities. What exactly is the plan when it comes to a safe haven for these persons? Is there any plan to move these displaced people to a particular place where they can have at least everything provided for them? Secondly, I'd want to ask, what happens or what is the plan for the communities that are not at the epicenter of this entire spillage? For instance, I was at Germany throughout the weekend.
Can you repeat the name?
I was at Germany Community. It's in the South Dai district, yes, of the Volta region. And though the floods there is not really related exactly to the spillage, we know that it is related to the overflow of the Volta River. And so you could see the same sort of damage that was caused in areas like Mepe in Germany. And so what happens to those people? I'm expecting that NADMO would send relief items today, but this would have been the first time that NADMO is visiting that community. And so that's also one question. And my last thing is, really, what's the post-spillage plan? After spillage, what happens? What's the plan for the people that have been displaced or have been affected after the spillage? That's it for me.
Thank you for the question. There were some two hands here, Hanan and Mr. Atta.
Okay, my name is Abdul Hanan Adam. I work with GH1 TV. Engineer, I'd like to find out from you. We understand that there's some 20 million Ghana cedis that has been announced by the Volta River Authority as part of your relief support to the affected 7 districts in these areas. I want to find out whether this 1.5 million worth of drugs that you've supplied comes from that particular 20 million. And further to ask whether this money is enough or you intend to budget more for the devastation that we've seen? And my second question has to do with some of my colleagues have also pointed to that, which is post-spillage. Are we to expect any form of spillage anytime soon? And what volume of water are we looking at? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. We'll take the last one for this round and then come back to you after the response.
As I mentioned from Ghana News Agency. Yes, I have heard different figures regarding the number of people affected. I heard over 31,000 over. If the deputy CEO can confirm the exact number of people who have been affected. Then with regards to 1.5 million worth of medicine, what kind of medicine is being provided? Is there any specific ailment that is causing the people? And if there are teams, special team dispensing those drugs to the people? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the questions. We'll come back to you after this round, but let me attempt to answer those ones that are not related to VRE, so that we will leave the questions relating to the budgets and also the post-spillage plan and other questions, items, collection points, and all that for Engineer Kenzo to respond and address the ones that are not related to VRE. So Judith asked a question about those communities that are affected by floods, but the floods are not a result from direct spillage from the Akosombo Dam, and what is being done for those communities. And the response is that in the normal course of NADMO's duties, they respond to some of these national emergencies, be it floods, water, internal displacement of any sorts. NADMO handles that. And that is why yesterday you saw pictures of the Director General of NADMO in Yeji and also at Bupe, because they are also affected by floods. But those floods are not related to the downstream activities of VRE. So NADMO is embarking on a separate operation to address all those communities, apart from what collectively they are doing with VRE. So if there is any particular community that has not received relief, if you bring it to their attention, I believe that will be addressed. But NADMO also has districts and zonal coordinators at the various districts and electoral areas, and they've been working with the elected assemblymen and women directly to send relief items to these communities. So if they are so affected, I believe they should be on schedule. But just as you pointed out, if they haven't received anything at all, I will personally relay that information to NADMO so that they pay attention to that community. There was also another issue about releases, and I don't want to push that question to Mr. Kenzo because I don't know if he is personally in charge of that service. But what I can tell you is that the spillage was not something that they regularly do unless there is a schedule since the establishment of the dam. So that is why it was communicated that the last time they did it was 2010, before this one. So it is not as if impromptu, they just spill as and when just to disrupt activities. But from what they have made us understand is when the integrity of the reservoir is threatened, then there is the need for them to spill. Because these same communities that are affected, that are really struggling in these times, I have been on ground and I will still go there. So we share in your thoughts as advocates for our brothers and sisters in our affected communities. But when they don't do this planned or scheduled spillage, and the integrity of the dam is breached and it is broken, these same communities will be worse affected, and there will be even more communities affected. But thank God we are not recording deaths directly from the spillage, and we are moving them to safety and ensuring that after the water levels have come down, collectively, all the government agencies so assigned to the interministerial committee will do their respective duties so that we restore the schools, electricity, water, all other resources, even provide the necessary support for farmers, fish farmers, and other people who have lost their livelihood because of this exercise. So kindly bear with us that in subsequent briefings, we will bring NADMO, we will bring the Water Resources Commission, we will bring other people as and when they have come from the communities and they are available to take your questions. We will bring them to respond to you. So, Mr. Kenzo, please.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. With respect to the question of the coordination of the relief items, I would like to take this opportunity also to thank all individuals, organizations, entities who are supporting us in government to bring relief to the people affected. We are really appreciative of that effort and commitment because these are our own people. We really appreciate that. We will work with NADMO, and as the Honorable Minister said at the beginning, the emergency center which has been set with the calling number of 311. All is part of this coordination to make sure that this relief to affected communities is coordinated. As said, we will still be working continuously with NADMO to make sure these activities comes to one central point to make sure the relief goes to those who need it most. On the way forward, I would like to say that we'll be working with government and all the other agencies to see how best we can bring a lasting solution to whatever we find ourselves today. So that will be my answer to that question. When you go to the 20 million is money given initially. As the situation unfolds, VRA will still maybe add up to the money to make sure the relief that we promised to give these communities, they get those relief. Someone asked of an additional spillage way forward. At least I can stand here to say that there will be no additional increase of spillage. We are tracking the data that is coming, and we are going to control the gate per the data that we receive. For knowledge, at least yesterday we had some drops in volumes, so at least we've managed the amount of water that we are spilling out now. We've cut off some volumes out of it. The number of people displays and the type of medicine supplied. That data, I think I'll leave it to NADMO since they are the agency that handles disaster management. They have this data, and I'm sure in a due course they'll share it with all of us for us to do the total number of people affected. The medicine type 2, I know we are working with the district health services at the district level, the Ghana SS at the district levels. Type of medicine, I'll try and get the full details of medicine that are supplied and make sure in subsequent briefing we'll give you the type and quantities of medicine supplied. Thank you so much.
Please, let me add that when it comes to NADMO's efforts, as mentioned earlier, government takes full primary responsibility of rehabilitating persons and communities affected by the spillage. So whatever distribution or resources NADMO will require to make sure in terms of food items, in terms of water, in terms of medicine and all that, all the state agencies are collaborating and doing their part to make sure it's provided. But there are other private individuals and institutions that would like to support the communities on their own, and that is also encouraged. If they also so wish to also distribute some relief items to NADMO to add to their disbursements, that is also encouraged. But that notwithstanding, we still have a plan in place to make sure relief from government reaches everybody. So please, if you have any follow-up questions, or any particular issue you wish to be addressed, we will take this last round and then take engineers' responses and concluding remarks.
Good afternoon. My name is James Aveji. I work with Joy News. My question is about the aftermath of the spillage. I'm not sure that's been addressed entirely. What's VRA's plan, especially for people who have lost their homes and their livelihoods? Today we've heard about some hectares of rice farms and fish ponds being carried away. What's the long-term plan for such people? Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
During the presentation, my name is Talon, by the way, with the finder. During the presentation, Engineer Kenzo mentioned that they had contracted Zoom Lion to cater for the toilet issues. Do you know how much it is costing the state if you are going to contract a private person? To government, there have been calls for a state of emergency to be declared to ensure resource allocation and then mobilization towards relief efforts. It's not been done yet. How soon can we expect that a state of emergency will be declared to ensure that the affected get the relief as quickly as they can?
Okay, yeah. Okay.
To government, I'd like to find out, since the VRA has committed 20 million and government is taking full responsibility of what and how much NADMO is spending, so far, how much has NADMO spent or how much has government spent in this, aside what VRA has spent? And secondly, if you look at communities around Mepe, Sogagope and Anloga and other areas, there are calls for governments to resettle these affected persons at Saglme. Is this something that government is considering, or is there any form of discussion to that effect, since the facility is not in use at the moment?
Yes, once again I'm here. Mr. Deputy Director, with VRA and NADMO, what is the estimate cost, or what cost are we going to incur? If you can say something on top of your head, but we need such and such amount to address the current situation. Can you give us a tentative figure?
Okay, I take that to be the last question, unless there are some additional questions. Okay, so let me start with Nana Poku's question about the tentative figure that government or VRA intends to spend in trying to rehabilitate the affected communities. If you listen to my earlier submission, I mentioned that all the ministries with their district offices in the affected communities are doing assessments. You know, the water levels have not completely dropped. And all the assessments and the required support should be based on the data and science on the ground. Because today, until the water levels go very down and you are able to assess the extent of damage to property and quantify what people have lost, you may just speculate and then put out some figures, and later on when you come back to inform the people that we may require double or triple of what we had mentioned we would need to rehabilitate the communities, they will say, oh, we don't believe you. They haven't used the resources well and some monies have passed somewhere. So we are faithful, we are keeping faith with the data that will be provided after the water levels are completely down and the proper assessments are made. Tying that into James Aveji's question about aftermath of spillage, we announced that government's action in this difficult time are in three parts. First of all, safety, and the safety has to do with evacuating affected persons from communities to safe havens, and that was done by NADMO, the 48th Engineers Regiment, the Riverine Command of the Ghana Navy, and the Naval Training Command with their vessels and other equipment to make sure we don't lose people. After that is being done, we move to the second phase. The people who are in temporary shelter or at the various campuses, making sure there is no overcrowding, they don't have any medical emergencies that are not attended to, and they have food. And that is the relief component or second phase of the work, where food items, non-food items, medicines, water, toilet facilities are all provided to them. For instance, if you look at a place like St. Kizito, of course, as a school, they have their toilet facilities. But if a school had provided toilet facilities for maybe an estimated 200 people, and because of this situation, 1,000 people are sent to the place, if you don't provide additional toilet facilities to complement whatever is in place, people will be tempted to resort to open defecation, and the place will get contaminated, and there will be diseases and so on and so forth. And that is why Mr. Kenzo mentioned that 40 mobile biodigester toilets booths have been sent to the safe havens. He mentioned Zoom Lion because these are mobile biodigester toilets, and not everyone may know how to maintain them. So the service component to ensure that they are maintained every day, they are properly taken care of. That's why he mentioned that Zoom Lion has been engaged to take care of the services bit of managing these resources. There was also a question about a number of people affected, which I think Mr. Kenzo has responded to. So I will yield to him to address other issues related to the aftermath of the spillage, unless there is any question you ask that has not been answered. But when he gets here, he will address that. Okay, yes, go ahead.
Addressing my question about the long-term effect plan, I mentioned that we've heard today, for instance, the AGI tells us that over some 350 hectares of rice farm have been lost. The peasant farmers tell us that some fish ponds around the Asituari area have been swept away. What is the plan of either government or NADMO, VRA, to secure the future of these investors after all is said and done?
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. If you remember, last week, the Minister for Agric at the YEA Youth in Agriculture Fair mentioned that some $40 million that have been allocated to them by the World Bank, because of this situation or this disaster or situation we have on our hand, they are going to move the resources to the affected districts so that they will be able to rehabilitate the farms. So, and I mentioned that the nature and quantum of what has happened can fairly be known after the water levels are completely down, and then the technical people can be sent in to assess. If whatever amount mentioned by Mr. Kenzo, which is the 20 million from VRA, what the Agric Ministry has announced, what the 5 million that the Minister for Roads and Highways have announced, what the Ministry of Education, Sanitation and Water Resources through GAMA is yet to announce, and what the central government is yet to announce. Even after deploying that, if it is not sufficient, because this is ongoing, as and when the assessment required that we inject some resources into some particular areas to ensure that they are able to get their farms back, they are able to get their fish ponds back, government will do that. And this was mentioned by the president at MEPE last week. He mentioned that he is aware that schools have to close down. He is aware that some farms have been lost. He is aware that some people have lost their fish ponds. And we are going to commit everything to make sure we restore those properties that have been lost. Yes. And Hanan also asked what specifically government is going to contribute or has contributed, how much. And I'm saying that, you know, ministries and agencies are announcing different figures, everybody and what they are able to do in the instance. But when we talk about government, of course, if Ministry of Sanitation or Ministry of Agric is contributing some money, the money will still, it means the money is coming from central government. But we are, in course of this week, we are planning a second briefing where we will lay all the issues relating to budget out for the benefit of the public. So the entire picture, as and when they are done with the assessment, we will present it so that you can appreciate what's on the ground. Yes. Okay, you also asked a question about relocation, not rehabilitation. Yeah, relocation. And my response to that question is that, you know, I mentioned that people are there testing the water. People are there. The Ghana Health Service have the regional and district directors conducting some tests to see whether the places affected are still habitable in the meantime whilst the spillage is happening, whether they are too contaminated that people have to be moved. It is that information that they will give to the center that will inform some decisions by the committee. But as it stands now, we haven't received such information. Mind you, we have doctors and nurses on the ground. If you go to Mepe, there is a female doctor, I've forgotten her name, there are about 4 nurses. And these people are doing, they know what is happening on the ground and advising so that the necessary next steps can be taken. But if the intention or the questions about the relocation is a long-term question, let me remind you that there are chiefs, there are leaders, there is so much involved in moving people from their social and cultural habitats, away from their property, away from their farms and all that. If the need arises for such a conversation in the future, we will still create the platform for us to have that conversation. But as it stands now, we haven't received any such advice from the health experts and other people on ground saying we should relocate. But remember that if any such information is out, it will be acted upon.
Well, I'm asking still on his submission or his question. We're talking about, I asked about the safe havens earlier.
Yes.
Even if we decide not to move them to Sagleme, now, what really is the plan for them? Because for now, we know that they are just in schools, they are being placed in schools and tents and all that. Is there really a safe haven that's going to be constructed for these people?
Okay, so first of all, let me say that usually when some of these incidents happen and people are internally displaced, a large number of the people move to stay with relatives. So even in the communities, when we mentioned that a total of about 38,000 people are affected, okay, about 40,000, we are talking about maybe a large number of those people living with relatives and living with friends and move to other places on their own, not through the arrangements that have been put in place by government. Last week when we went to Mepe, the people who were at the safe havens collectively were about 6,000. The following day when we came, it had moved to 8,000. Assessment is being made because if it's a secondary school, of course, some students have been staying there before. But the most important thing is that they have the mattresses, they have the comforters, they have the mosquito nets, they have the full complement of the things that can assist them to be there in the meantime. But the arrangement we have in place is not something we anticipate is going to take a long time. That's why I said if the need arises and there is any advice that such persons should be relocated, of course, we will come back to you to make such announcements upon advice. But what we have now from our briefs, from all the information we have received, is that so far for those who have moved to the safe havens, they are giving them all the resources to make sure they are able to stay there temporarily until such a time they are able to go back to the communities. Okay, so on that note, I will invite Mr. Kenzo to also respond to the VRA part and also give his concluding remarks.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Unfortunately, she answered all the questions directed to me, so I don't have any question to answer. But I would like to take this opportunity to wish and assure Ghanaians, particularly our impacted brothers and sisters, that we share in their pain, discomfort, and hardship. It is our expectation that as the rain comes to an end, we will reduce the spill rate, the floods will recede, our people can return to their normal lives. We are grateful to all the stakeholders, in particular NADMO, the Ministry of Energy, the Ghana Armed Forces, the Ministry of Health, the press, and all those who have assisted in bringing relief to our compatriots during this period. We are also grateful to the affected people for their forbearance, and we say thank you all.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank the delegation from VRA for making good use of this platform and sharing all the information at their disposal. As promised, we intend to do this twice a week if it's possible. So we will reach out to you to discuss other areas, or if after this conversation there is a need for a follow-up still on the humanitarian issues, we will come back and also draw from the other agencies working together with VRA on the impact of this spillage. We will bring them here to respond to your questions. Let me use this opportunity to also thank all the media houses that are with us here in the auditorium and those who are picking the feed live, from GTV, City TV, Adom TV, Adom FM, Asasi Radio, ABC News GH, Dela Radio, Adidome, Freedom FM Sugakope, Tosh TV Ho, GBC Volta Star Radio Ho, and also Akpene Radio in Pando. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We still have 2 videos announcing the toll-free number for those who would like to reach out to the call center, so they can play it, and then we call it a day. Yeah.
Alo Anton B niji nyomenyo kegwe no National Emergency Contact Center kemei kemaji ninu afwa efiti ameni bi sote e bonshram no wa try boy alo number ne 311 ye telephone network sote anu ni ayi abu no kaimo ake yi boy alo numbers ni oba charge 311 ye network sote anu National Emergency Contact Center when you won't me ni ehia amewa.
Esa se Ghana aban adwe ne manfo eho enkanka omanfo